MGMT are an indie electronic neo-psychedelic band that broke out about 10 years ago at this point. I think it's been about 10 years since songs like Time to Pretend, Electric Feel, Kids were all huge and broke into the mainstream and gave MGMT a huge platform and became a lot of people's favourite indie artist. And all those songs were pretty damn great. I mean, I would play them now and still get enjoyment out of them. Even Frank Ocean sampled Electric Feel on one of his songs a while ago. Like, that's how, like, well these tracks have aged, and they're still pretty fun to listen to. I think the debut album, Miraculous Spectacular, is actually a pretty good debut album too. They didn't really carry on, though, with the popularity. They came out with like Congratulations, which didn't do that well for them, even though that's a pretty alright album. And then the album after that in 2013 didn't really receive that many positive reviews. So it's been a while really since MGMT have been on the forefront of indie music listeners' minds, honestly. Even to the point where I personally wasn't even anticipating this album, honestly. I did like the Little Dark Age single, and they released a few others too, which I didn't hear, but Little Dark Age was the lead single, which I do think is a very good song. It's very dark. I love the tone to this track. It's very different to the rest of this album, but it just has an atmosphere that I really cling on to and reminds me of something like Depeche Mode, like something that would have easily fit onto Violator, their 1990 album, which is a great album, but it's got that really dark synth tone to it that I think they've pulled off really well. And honestly, I would have liked to see them do way more of that on this album, but they don't do it as much as I'd hoped. That's not to say that this album's bad overall, because it's not, it really isn't. It's just that I think that idea that they threw onto that track ended up being the best sound that they came up with for the album, because a lot of this album is neo-psychedelic, but it's not really as dense or textured as some classic neo-psychedelic albums. I mean, of course, Animal Collective had so much vibrance on their Merryweather Post Pavilion album. I always forget that name. I don't know why. I always think it's Post Pavilion Merryweather. I don't fucking know why. It's annoying as hell. But that album is just packed with so many creative ideas. And also the Flaming Lips were one of like the neo-psychedelic pioneers. I mean, some of their albums are amazing. So if you do like this Little Dark Age album, then do go back and listen to the Flaming Lips, because you'll probably be way more blown away than you are here. And the thing with MGMT for me is that when they go really catchy and hook driven, I tend to like their music way more. But on this album they do that. They go quite bubblegummy at points, like on the opening track and then When You Die. And I don't know, I'm just not into it at all. Like, I really am not feeling these songs. Like, I just can't quite get with them. The opening track, She Works Out Too Much, I'm assuming is about an ex-lover of his who obviously focused quite a lot on their image and the way they looked and ended up breaking down the relationship because they just did too much working out. And I don't know, that kind of song topic for me, I'm just not feeling it. I mean, yeah, the song is very bright, it's very over the top and catchy, but I just, the lyrics, man, I can't get with the lyrics. The really overly blown sugary chorus and the kind of just silly sounding beat, honestly, it all sounds a bit childish, and I just can't really get into it. I don't think it's a good opening track. Like, even if you enjoy this song, is it really the opening track to this album? Like, this album that doesn't really have this sound the whole way through, is this the right direction to go for the opening song? Especially when the track after that is Little Dark Age, which is nothing like She Works Out Too Much. It just feels a bit jarring to me. Then that brings me to When You Die, which I mentioned as a track that I don't really enjoy. And mate, the way he sings on this song, he is just so boyish and just like immature. I just can't get with it at all. I'm not that nice. I'm mean and I'm evil. Yeah, you don't sound it. You really don't. I don't know what they're going for on this track, honestly. I don't think it's pulled off well. MGMT fans are probably going to enjoy this though, but again, it's just too bubble gummy and sugary for me, and he just doesn't sound like he's believing what he says, I think. But yeah, they are the weakest moments for me personally. I have got the two tracks that I don't like out of the way, so it's not like the rest of this album's really bad, because I do like TSLAMP, which stands for Time Spent Looking at My Phone, which I guess is a very topical track. I mean, a lot of people don't really realise that people do spend a lot of time on their phone. I am one of these people, so I don't think that this track is pretentious. I know some people might be like, oh, you know, technology, oh, but this isn't like done in a really annoying way. This is just one of those tracks that's like, yeah, you know, this is true, this is a thing, and it could affect people. And I love the way this track sounds as well. I mentioned Flaming Lips earlier, and this has really got a Flaming Lips vibe to it, especially the end of the track with the do, you know, it sounds really good. It sounds like something that would have come from the Flaming Lips' Yoshimi Battles, the Pink Robots album. Me and Michael, it doesn't really do anything for me, honestly. Just the way the chorus comes in and the whoa just sounds a bit arena ready, a bit too radio friendly, I guess. Not really into this track. James is another track that's a bit bland, but it does have a really nice melody to it. Do do do. And even a few tracks towards the end do get quite boring as well. Like, this isn't really an album that stays consistent the whole way through. It changes in its sound quite a bit. The sounds that they try don't always work too well, or if they don't work that well, they end up being a bit bland. But I do like the influences that they use. As I've said, I mentioned Depeche Mode, Flaming Lips, also orchestral maneuvers in the dark. Like, shit, they are such a great 80s band. Like, they made synth pop sound incredible. Like, you don't even realise how synth pop can, like, as good as it can be until you hear orchestral maneuvers in the dark. And I feel like there are a few tracks here that sound a little bit like that. Like, they're pulling from that idea and that time period of synth music. Now, the one track that brings me back to that overblown, catchy as hell synth pop, neo psychedelic sound that MGMT have always been known for doing so well is One Thing Left to Try. Holy shit, this track is so good. I love the way it sounds. Like, it sounds dancey, but it's also very like restrained as well. It's not way over the top like When You Die and she works out too much. It's just got such a great vocal melody on the chorus. The way the synth sounds actually reminds me of some Kraftwerk as well, and a bit with the vocals, with like the really like dum 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 like those parts with the vocals. It really sounds like something would have come from Kraftwerk or New Order. Like, that is the one thing about this album. Like, when they do it well, they fucking do it great, and this is like their best example of it. It's just a shame that we don't get it all the way across the album, because if every track was like One Thing Left to Try, oh man, this would have been such an amazing album. But overall, it ends up just being okay for me. Like, it's not really anything too special. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people may overrate this, but for me, I just feel like it's just kind of alright. It's okay. Too many moments that don't sound as good as they should do. They've tried some things that aren't really that good. The boyish vocals at points sound really obnoxious. So with that all said, I'm gonna have to go with a C. I feel like this could have been way better than it ended up being. It's alright. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on this, because some of the great tracks on here are really great, like Little Dark Age, One Thing Left to Try, really like stand out as great songs, but just so many missteps across the album for me. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. Hit the notifications bell. Let me know what I should review next. And that is all. Have a good day. Have a good day.